Hello, everybody. How you doing? Welcome, you sales professionals. My name is John Kenney with Cotney Consulting Group. I want to give you this free sales training to help you out in your careers called Cracking the Code, the Absolute Sales Machine. So one thing I want to talk about is working smarter, not harder, right? How often have you heard that you have to work smarter and not harder? The first time I heard this saying, I had no idea how to accomplish this. What does it really mean? So what I learned was strategies were essential for me in the trenches doing battle to grow and strengthen my departments of business through trial and error. So again, I'm going to give you a lot of tips in here that have come throughout my entire career. And I've been doing sales in one format or another for over 40 years. So whether you're a CEO, senior manager, middle manager, salesperson, or even your customer representative, you play a vital role in operating, marketing, selling, and running your company or department. So in these upcoming modulars, we're going to share with you some of the tips for success that I have learned throughout my career. I think you're going to find this very enlightening and enjoyable. So again, this is not just for sales professionals. Everyone in your company is a sales team member. So enjoy, good luck, talk to you at the end. All right, let's talk about time management. Time management can be broken down into 6 steps. So step 1, only touch it once. If you touch it, take action. That's the first step to a great time management system. Don't open that email, letter, or file until you're ready to deal with it. Once you put this rule into practice, you're going to find you can handle more work in progress, and the more organized you become in this process, the more productive you're going to be. Step 2, make a list. Without a daily list, you become a very reactive person. Lists keep you focused on high priorities and highly productive matters, and keeping a list will double your productivity right away. If your list is too long, you're never going to finish it, and it's going to create a negative psychological impact on yourself. Keeping your list to 6 or 8 items is the key to this. When you cross off the last item at the end of that day, you get a positive mental boost. Step 3, plan and allocate a time allotment to each task. At this point, don't worry about what time of day you're going to do that task, but concentrate on determining the amount of time you will realistically dedicate to each task. This is a crucial step to ensure that the 6 to 8 items that you are putting on your list are going to be accomplished in that day. If you have items on your list that are too big to achieve in that day, which we're all going to have, then write down how much time in that day you can allocate to that task. Step 4, plan your day. Once you have allocated time for each task, you need to plan out your day. This is a general guide of your day, but it's more specific to have a time slot for absolutely everything, right? It must allow time for that occasional pop-up meeting and miscellaneous duties that are going to require your attention each and every day. Now, step 5, we're going to prioritize. This is where the old saying, the 80-20 rule comes in. So the 80-20 rule applies extremely well here. Look at your day tomorrow and see where you have put the most difficult tasks. I've often seen a lot of people put the most critical tasks last because it typically takes the most concentration or it's the most difficult. But if you wait till the end of the day, there's rarely enough time or energy left to get it done, right? We've all gone through that. Put that most important task first when you're fresh. You're going to gain control and receive a tremendous sense of accomplishment. Here we have a typical sales daily schedule example. I'm not going to read this in detail. I just want you to take a look at it. But basically, you're going to break this exactly into these type of time slots that works best for you. That's how you're going to do it. Step 6, throw it away. Studies show that 80% of all filed and stored information, you're never going to refer to it again. So what you want to do is ask yourself, will it hurt me to throw it away? Could you get to it again if you need it? The answer is usually yes, so throw it away. So if you master these 6 steps, you won't believe the difference it's going to make. When something interferes with your schedule, you deal with it and return to your schedule as soon as you can. Implement them company-wide, and you will be operating at maximum productivity before you know it. Tips for salespeople. Every salesperson should allow 2.5 hours a day for new prospecting. And for salespeople who do not have a full load yet of current clients, you need to do at least 4 hours a day of pure cold calling. Your entire day should be spent prospecting if you're a brand new salesperson. If you're a small company and you, as the owner, are the primary person responsible for growing that company, and when you first start out, that is exactly what you're going to be, then you must spend at least 2 to 3 hours a day personally growing your company. Again, this is where your time management tips are going to come in so that you can allow this time in there. Software is excellent for tracking prospecting and other aspects of the sales statistics, but you have to use it. We've had a client who had software to track their sales activity, but never used the software to follow their own KPIs. So we surveyed their sales reps, and they responded that they were making 40 to 50 cold calls a day, which would be excellent. Once we set up their KPIs on our Smartsheet program, the reality was they were making about 9 to 25 actual cold calls per day. Once they were tracked, their close ratio increased by over 50% in less than 3 months. Again, this goes back to, if you want to improve, you must track and know where you're at. Once you do that, you're going to be able to really increase where you're at. Training. Here's a simple exercise you can answer for your company, right? So answer these in true or false. All our employees perform each aspect of their job with a high degree of consistency and excellence. Results are predictable because training and skills are consistent. Each of our managers would give a similar answer for each question on our client problem. Each of our employees would give a similar answer for each question or client problem. All clients are treated similarly, no matter who the client deals with in our company or in its department of our company. All team members know what is considered good performance and an acceptable attitude. If you answered false to any of the above, you aren't serious about training. Without training, your employee activity would be intermittent, inconsistent, temperamental, or rude because you have not set the standards. Your team with proper training will know the optimal procedure for initial contact with a client, the questions that they need to ask every client no matter what, and the follow-up procedures you insist upon. Your competitors might be advancing, but your team isn't without mandatory continuing training education. You need to implement mandatory training programs and make them fun, engaging, and stimulating to your team, and they're going to love them. It doesn't matter if you're a one-person entrepreneur or your company has hundreds of employees. You need to be working on your skills. The reality is that without great training, the majority of salespeople will never call a prospect back who rejects them even once. Fewer salespeople will call back even twice after the candidate has said no. Cold calling is one of the most challenging aspects of selling to get your team to excel. It will require consistent, relentless, and organized training on just this one specific concept to dramatically change, and then you must police it through the organization. Once your salespeople learn that consistency in their approach, no matter how many times they were rejected, they will see the result of greater conversation rate and prospects to buying clients. With this single significant improvement, they will be the masters of selling in the industry. That's how important cold calling prospecting is to master. Tips on running a training session. So if you want to be successful running your own training sessions, follow these guidelines, and you're going to be able to be very successful, and most importantly, get a bang for your buck with your team. So let your team know what is expected. What will you be covering? How long will the training be? How do you plan on covering this information? What is the training session's objective? What skill or knowledge will they attain from this training? Once your team has a clear understanding of what you are about to say or show them, They will be mentally prepared and focus on that training. The worst thing to do is come in with a team and they have no idea what they're about to go through in the training. They'll be worried more about what's next than they will focus on what you're trying to teach them. Knowledge retention tips we do with clients involved with training. So these are what we do when we walk through with our clients. We wanted to give you these tips. So testing before and after, it's great, works fantastic. For each concept or skill that we teach, we develop a test on that area for the team after training. So adding a test before training gives us a benchmark to track what they actually retain for improvement. By administering both tests, the team gets a greater sense of accomplishment by seeing their progress from before we had the training till after the completion. So spot quiz. At the companies I've run throughout my career, spot quizzes were my mainstay. My sales team would come into our weekly meetings and be given a quiz to take on the spot before the meeting even started. At first, there was pushback and complaining. I'm sure you've never experienced that, but you will if you start to do this. But it stuck like all good habits after a few times, right? Anyone on the team learned and could recite these following, right? The 6 steps of time management we just learned before, the steps to get an appointment, the steps of selling, and the questions they will ask every prospect. You could go to anyone after they sat through these meetings because of these spot quizzes, and they'd be able to answer these, just recite them from memory. That's when you're starting to really, really get your team rolling. Be a sales strategist. Double and triple your sales percentages by adding strategic objectives. To give you an example, 2 roofing companies opened up in the same year in the same town. They were tactical and grew about 10% a year over year, making them equal. Roofer 1 stayed tactical and just sold roofs, while Roofer 2 decided to start being strategic and train their salespeople to sell the company and not just roofs. While the salespeople are on their way to selling a roof, they pitch the heck out of the company. They tell the clients about the history, the owner's devotion to service, why they have the best solutions over their competitors, how well trained they are on the installations of roofs, and how the other benefits will benefit the client. The purpose of educating the buyer is to create brand loyalty. Over time, Roofer 2 builds a large and loyal following of customers who automatically call them first when they're interested in any type of roofing service. Over 4 years, the tactical remained in one location, and the strategic roofer opened up 3 locations and grew by 300%. This is a true story. This is how it worked. So you're not just selling roofs, you want to sell their company to your clients. That is what is going to set you apart. Sell the service. Customers are even going to pay more if they perceive a greater value or more reason for buying from one company over another. So it's not about what your price is. It never has been. It never will. If the customers that you get are strictly about price, walk away. Hiring superstars. If you want to build an extreme sales machine, one of the most critical steps is to understand the personality profile of top producers. Breaking it down, you need to learn how to recruit them and keep them, and then apply all that you've learned so far from this training. The average bad hire costs a company between $50,000 and $70,000. That's probably light. It's probably more depending on your company. Yet most hiring decisions are made from a 30-minute long interview. I've talked to many owners of roofing companies who estimate that a single bad hire costs them hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you're probably, how can that be? Well, lost revenue, mistakes, we're losing clients. There's many ways to come up with that dollar amount. Most companies do not find out any of their problems until after the people have worked for them for several months. By then, it's a painful extraction process, or worse, you leave them in a job because you know they know how to do it, and you don't have the time or energy to replace them. Let's learn some different and effective methods for finding people's faults before hiring them. What is a superstar? This is a type of person you can put in a bad situation with no training, poor tools, inadequate resources, and despite all of that, within a few months, they begin to outperform your best people. You don't hire someone like this by luck. Hiring someone like this is not about luck at all. It's about understanding the personality, characteristics that fit the job you're hiring for, and having the means to identify the candidates that possess these characteristics. When finding superstars, personality profiling is the key. There are many companies offering tests to determine psychological profiles. For this lesson, what we're going to focus on is the DISC, D-I-S-C personality test, right? This is not a new test by any means. A Harvard psychologist first developed this in 1928, but it is tried and true method and is still being used throughout the world today. So DISC stands for 4 aspects of the personality. D is for dominance, I is for influence, S is for steadiness, and C is for compliance. This test uses word associations to measure the intensity of each characteristic in the tested candidate. So first thing you need to do is understand what these actually mean. So dominance is the personality trait that has to do with the strength of your ego. It measures your power, your desire to control situations, and how well you assert yourself into every interaction. Candidates who exhibit high dominance have very strong egos. Now, ego is not always a bad thing. Strong ego is crucial in sales because it means you will have the drive and personal ambition to close as many sales as possible and a bulletproof vest to not take repeated and even harsh rejections personally. You will realize it's just business. Influence. This has to do with how you interact in social situations and how well you communicate. High influence people love being around people. Simple as that. They are natural, empathetic, quickly putting themselves into other people's position and understanding their points of view. They are fast and energetic, work well on teams, and are persuasive, communicate, and are verbal. Steadiness. Steadiness is all about how patient, persistent, and thoughtful you are. High steadiness people are deliberate in their actions and decisions. They work cohesively and steadily with others and are most happy behind the scenes. They are good listeners and gain support from others. Compliance. That's got to do with how you relate to a structure and organization. High compliance people always plan ahead and are cautious in their actions and decisions. They work well alone, like organization and structure. They work accurately and precisely. So what is the recipe for a superstar? It's not just a high level of one trait. It's a combination of different intensities of each attribute, right? Top producers exhibit high influence. Influence by itself is not enough. People who are very high influencers and strongly empathetic are too understanding and don't close sales. However, if your candidate personality combines that high influence with high dominance, you found yourself a sales superstar. They will bond to the buyer, and the high dominance makes them expect that sale, and they will keep selling. High dominance and high influence candidates can seem overly eager on the job interview and may even come on too strong. Don't let that little bluster put you off. It is an essential ingredient for every superstar. So now that you've hired, so how do we reward that superstar? The last step of hiring top talent is to create a performance-based relationship with very little salary or base draw. I know you're probably saying, well, I don't understand. Well, you have to pay them. No, let me tell you, there are many ways to accomplish this, but true high performers look for these deals because they are not limited in top-end earnings they can achieve. You never want to limit a superstar from earning money in your company. As they say, the old saying, the sky's the limit. You want them to keep shooting for those stars. How do you manage that superstar, right? So once you've hired that superstar, you need to be very strategic to keep that person in your organization. Top producers share many traits that easily translate into restlessness in most companies. They are generally frustrated in most organizations, and they're the ones that usually start their own companies. So the key to keeping that superstar is to never say no to them. Instead, redirect their energy or give them a few hurdles to jump to get what they want. So that's key. Don't give them an outright no. You're never going to keep a superstar, but redirect that energy and give them hurdles that they have to jump over to get what they want. That's a challenge a superstar is looking for. Sales skills. Most companies leave too much of the sales process up to individual salespeople. To create a sales machine, You must work as a team, utilizing everyone's brain power to drill down, perfect and develop procedures for each aspect of that sales process. You need to set standards. You know the minimum performance of each person on your sales team. Star salespeople will improve on everything you give to them. Sales is a science that has been studied and well-defined. If you don't understand sales, you haven't defined it and you can't improve it. The key for any company is to create the policies and procedures that work with your sales team to follow them consistently. Procedures and policies are key, but you must have your team follow them with a consistent basis and not alter that. Okay, let's close this training with the core skill areas that will put you at the top of your market. You have to do is to commit to continue to perfect and systematize those skills with absolute focus. With these steps in your determination, there isn't any problem you're not going to be able to overcome. So let's go through these. There's 9 steps. Step 1, determine your best possible strategic position. Step 2, establish your position in the market and base your decisions to penetrate that market. Step 3, put your marketing plan in action based on your strategic decisions. Step 4, rehearse your sales presentation over and over with your team. You will never be too prepared to present to a sales presentation. Work through time management procedures daily and constantly demand to-do lists from your team. So if you're managing a sales team, you have to get the to-do list from them. You need to know what they're doing. You need to get the same time management practices pushed downstream to your entire team. Step 6, train your sales team in great detail. Give them spot quizzes. We covered that earlier. Do workshops in every step of the process. Constantly work on the flow and procedures. Put in place more and more opportunities for bonding and building valuable relationships. Relationships is what sells. Step 8, set goals for every area of performance. You're not a goal is just a dream unless you actually set it and put it in place. So measure and track every activity and have regular contests and rewards for your top performers. Now, this is above and beyond having your plans in place for incentivizing your salespeople. These are contests to get them to go that extra mile. They're going to love it. So I hope you enjoyed this. This is just a short portion of some of our training. Wanted to give this to you for free. Get out there, practice it, sell. Talk to you later.